Fire, what you saying?
Yes, I giving thanks for life and is you know.
No, serious thing. Bald head and the dread back at it. Give thanks for everyone supporting the thing from those times till now. Special show today. There we're gonna reason about the one person they call MLK, Martin Luther King, right? And I want to touch on the two Martin Luther Kings. There's a duality in regards to the historical context. Most people are given, I don't want to say a colonized version of it, but I guess I could say it, right? Colonized version of Dr. King's legacy in regards to,
No, straightforward. That's what it is, though. We can't go around the fact they say them basically show up Martin Luther King as a passive Negro, so to speak. So ones and ones can confirm in a way and say, see, this is what it is. This is a non-violent. This is how you're supposed to deal with your issues. Make sure that you go and give different speeches, but make sure that there is no form of violence or no form of aggression towards getting what you want. So and the picture that them paint at the eye, so
the violence and even the activity. So they really present the man as passive, meek, and mild, a person who necessarily didn't uh, have a proactive approach, but a reactive approach. And when I think the reality is, he definitely had a proactive approach, right? So for those unaware, MLK for the most part, when people hear about him, they speak about "I have a dream." I remember when I was younger, they had him in McDonald's commercials, so I could tell you how commercialized the thing got out of hand, right? But what we want to focus on today is two parts. One part is his, which I think is the greatest lesson from King, was his ability to evolve in his philosophy and his outlook, and to publicly share his what he believed was a fault in his theories that he had and the approaches that he had, And the other aspect is to speak about the king that many don't know about, uh, the revolutionary aspect in regards to the Poor People's Campaign. That was a
but
movement there.
would even need to reach as a yet, cause in order to even talk about the poor people's campaign, we have to really take it a step back to because 1955 when King come out as on the forefront with the Montgomery bus boycott and him start off as a grassroots activist, So I don't want people to get it twisted and feel like I was 1968 when him come with the poor people's depend the poor people's campaign or talk about the Vietnam War when him start the revolutionary sound. Him start off in 1955. If you listen to some of him speeches, then when him come to the forefront and when him did even bring forth in a film church at church in a down south, you realize it was a real grassroots type of struggle and them a call for action, but then in over time it turned to just a civil rights type of thing where them a focus on bills being passed through Congress and stuff like that. So you see the things start drop, but then it get back a type of climax towards the end.
Hey, how you think he transitioned from, like, because obviously they understood the importance and the impact of boycotting from an economic standpoint, right? So how did they go from that and transfer to just a access to white establishments?
But
Like, how do you
remember,
make
say
that transition?
a two ways of operating. Me can only speculate still now, but
Yeah, yeah, we
but
just
based
hear
on
reason.
how based on how me cite the thing still, me cite it like them come off too aggressive, but then them realize even with the whole concept, remember say a Christian is still a Christian concept where them
True,
are
true,
approach it
true.
from the light, So it always have a structural type of thing where church and state work hand in hand. So it's like them come off now, social democrat, the democratic type of movement where them want to see them way in the way they feel that them can get involved in a politics. As long as we and the white man come together side by side, all things should be fine and it should work out like this. And years go on and then realize that they're not getting a result. So then the one have to go back to the drawing board again and realize, so watch I know, more things need to be done.
Yeah, it seemed like some utopian thing they was looking for, and not understanding the impact it would have. Because for everyone unaware, the civil rights movement was a consumer movement in the sense that benefited white Americans much more than it did people of African descent. Because what happened is you had a transition where um, people of African descent were blocked from purchasing, or what do you say, patronizing? I don't know, shopping, shopping at stores owned by white people. So in all reality, yes, certain services were provided by white-owned businesses, but a lot of your local shops that don't exist now. Black people weren't allowed to go there. When the thing transitioned now, you have black people spending their money there and neglecting actually black-owned businesses, and that's when you had the decline of black-owned businesses, and you had many business owners becoming employees instead of being in position of employer that they were before, right? So King cited that and said the thing. He said I can't. He said, he said this thing can't work. Tell you the truth, And the next fight he burned out was the Vietnam War during that time because he analyzed that how can we deal with progress or receive resources that we need while you're engaged in a war across seas as one uh, immoral and draining the resources of the country that should be used to benefit the people.
I talk about that. I want to say me feel like say what really wake up Martin Luther King. It take 3 years, the period of 3 years still, but the death of Malcolm X really wake up Martin Luther King, because I mentioned the Poor People's Campaign earlier, and the Poor People's Campaign realized it's surrounded by human rights and economic development. So you see, Malcolm X did I tell that Martin Luther King long time said, leave civil rights alone. Civil rights is just an American thing, and it's just a niche towards the real goal we need to go towards, and the real goal was supposed to be economic human rights. You realize that when you come around to the fullness now, what is the Poor People's Campaign? All surrounded by human rights. You can't go around human rights. But I feel like that really wake him up same way. Ones might not admit it, but the truth that same way, because I must say Malcolm X did try link with him same way for have a meeting, not even with the whole March and Washington same way. You realize that them black Malcolm X from even go this the same way for go fulfill theme thing, because they know them can't censor theme talk.
And anybody interested in the March on Washington, check out a book by H. Rap Brown called Die Nigga Die. He breaks down the whole background history of that and who was invited, who wasn't invited, who was blocked, and how they orchestrated the event to come off the way that they did, right? Going back now to the whole Poor People's Campaign, right? There's an event in American history, and I believe it's like the 1800s, Bacon's Rebellion, where you had a wealthy landowner who was trying to move westward, and he used poor whites, free slaves, free African Americans, runaway slaves to rebel against the government. And the reason I bring that up is that anytime there's a unification in regards to a movement, that bring up a different type of pressure here in America. You can be within your own group and ask for certain things, but when you branch off and try to unite different groups, and I think that's what MLK really signed his judgment on that one, because Poor People's Campaign is not a movement or initiative just for those of African descent, but for all poor people, to provide them with a livable wage, access to healthcare, affordable housing. And these are issues that still plague Americans to this day. People speak about employment, but the livable wage is a thing most people don't have. Access to healthcare. It's like good healthcare, because the healthcare thing got different tiers, bro, depending on your economic situation. Hey, that's the healthcare you're stuck with. And affordable housing. People don't speak about this enough. Like the housing prices or the living expenses compared to income in America is totally disproportionate. A majority of people's income is spent just on their living expenses before you even get to your different bills, and not to mention student loans and all those things. So King really saw where the thing was going. And he used to burn out the racism, but he also used to burn out the extreme materialism. I remember a couple of speeches when he spoke about that, saying that, we need to be more, what's the quote he says? Something about we're a thing-oriented society, and we need to be a person orientated society, so and look at us now, look at the levels we reach.
Analyze that, and that's why really and truly, when it comes to even the whole concept of integration, I really buy it fully, because it's really in relation to Martin Luther King, I go put the relation to it, but because we're integration doing it, it's build up a few blocks individually, and then say, okay, these are the examples. These are the examples of what it is. And then when these few blocks now get through the gate, them go and join the side of the white, so them become white now, and then the majority of black population never benefit from integration. So we see how it
Yeah,
benefit
but it's
white.
the trick. But hey, all right. So listen to
All
this,
right.
right? This is the thing. This is the thing with integration. People need to study American history. You've always had a small group of people of African descent who are flourishing since the inception of the country. Whether they were business people, insurance owners, plantation owners, like you had plantation owners of African descent. So you've always had that group within our society. And people always speak about progress, but if you really analyze it, it's the same group or the same amount of people doing stuff, but they want to present it as if there's been some collective progress. And the sickest part of this whole thing is that they want to tell you that you can do it too if you work hard. When in reality, there are not enough positions for people of African descent in most of these corporations.
But that's and you see, all right, they pull it forward this and now because you see the same speeches, you see majority of the speeches them were Martin Luther King given in 1963 before him drop out. It did reflect that, because when I tell about the dream turned to a nightmare,
Reality,
that's when now you're there.
I said reality meds, and actually, I just want to let the people know. I'm gonna put that one in the link to check it because if you didn't see it, it's very informative. It shows the different perspectives and the growth of his whole mind frame, and him being the man to say, he was wrong in regards to that approach, and it's not beneficial. We need a new approach where we need some access to economics and more opportunities to make this thing work. And he talk about the bootstrap, where he say people tell you about the pull yourself up by your laces. Why you gonna pull yourself with laces when you ain't no boot? Better yet, the laces,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like the one start expose the system for what it is. So it's like the system has a wait. After Lyndon Johnson them go meet with Martin Luther King and said this is the prime example of what a black man should be. And Martin Luther King come and wise up the black people them to the eyes. It's me for one, I can tell you, me used to be extremely critical of Martin Luther King, but you see when time ago, because me as a person, anybody know me know the things say, enemies necessary we are dealing with it, a revolutionary vibration we are dealing with it. Because when I ask people if them can give away freedom, we're gonna take it. You see it. So me used to be very critical of Martin Luther King, but then I start look back and study the history and see say certain things what happen is like the system perpetrated the way they were. They make him come off in the light and him never get him full self and make people know say this is what it's supposed to be in the full aspect. But in the last run where you study the way how him start put together certain things, you realize that there I go with God fighting for the cause. Certain
people had that view of Martin Luther King because of what they've been fed from childhood. And that's a great lesson in regards to saying that we have to, first of all, the state only gives you sanctioned heroes or a sanctioned version of a hero. So we need to keep that clear. They're not going to give you the real deal Holyfield. Like this aspect of Martin Luther King is in no textbooks. It's not in anything, right? So you would have to research it for yourself. But yeah, for most people, man, I think that's just history in general in regards to the heroes, because people just work with what they've been given, and the people they've been given have kind of been people who are not too I don't want to say they're not too revolutionary, but they don't really buck the system so much, and they did things, but they did things within the system. And that's what it is. It's like a passive vibe, it's kind of rocking you to sleep to say, hey, this is your hero, and it's a passive
you have to
person.
be
So it's
suit
like,
and tie and come
yeah.
and ask us for your freedom, and we'll give it to you in bits and pieces, but keep it there for the next 1,000 years so those bits and pieces never fail. At the same tactic them come with, because if you realize to the same, it's so funny that even the same poor people's campaign with Martin Luther King and the SCLC did involve in it really come together and unite even the SNCC organization with the SCLC, because the SNCC been a fight for all them things the same way with Kwame Ture them too, when them are fulfill Stokely Carmichael them are fulfill the Black Power movement to try to fulfill them thing then I say watch economic development, and this is what we need to fight for and make sure that this thing stands. So everything same way come around to the fullness, and we have to give credit which part it do still,
Big time. So we give thanks for the work Martin Luther King did. Definitely check out more about the bridge. And also want to let the people know Martin Luther King said Marcus Garvey is the first man to really give millions of people of African descent hope. He's a big influence on Martin Luther King. So we give thanks for Marcus Garvey saying can't leave out Marcus Garvey.
You're mad. Baba.
Can't leave out Marcus Garvey when we have a reasoning. And but no, serious thing, man. We have to kind of, we have to be responsible. And anyone listening, hopefully, you can just with this information we provided in the video and the link, you can provide your children with a better understanding of MLK, letting them know, say, yo, the man is more than the scripted "I Have a Dream" speech.
Reality so, yeah. Reality so.
All right, we give thanks for the reason, give thanks for the support those times. So now, Baldhead and the Dread Podcast. Where you get free time, make sure you check us out, ineverknewtv.com. Also, music there from the one Autarchii there in the description. And look out for some new music from the one Autarchii still, because I believe he has something for the people coming soon.
Straight true. What if a thing, man? Black liberation cry, pubs and pride. What if a something, man? Freedom in Africa.